Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka blenderhd, Blender HD. You can follow me there on Twitter. And this is the show where we go over a little bit about yesterday's slate. We talk a little bit about today's slate. It's a small slate, right? 5 games. We don't know. We got some magic news we have to worry ourselves about. We got some. It's NBA DFS. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. So who knows what's going to happen? So that's why we talk a little bit more about strategy on this show. So if you're in the YouTube chat, you post your questions. Sometimes we go on a little tangents. Sometimes I show up some tools, right? So it's more about you. It's more about you in the YouTube chat. I see you guys in there. I see Mr. Meat Plow, of course, as always. DJ Cicero, Jupocalypse, Card Fan, Kevin Copeland, Dustin Hogue, Kagan Hopkins, Trey McRae, Milo Kaminsky, Steve Dial, Tony P, Matt Mears, Sam Deal. We got a ton of people in the YouTube chat. You know what to do in the YouTube chat. Hit that thumbs up button. You got to hit. Yeah, we need more thumbs today because we're in a crisis, folks. We're in a crisis. I don't think we've ever hit this crisis before. We need a lot more thumbs today. The crisis is I'm out of apple juice. I got no apple juice. I got Diet Mountain Dew, right? That was the only thing in the fridge. I'm out of Mountain. I'm even out of the mango stuff, right? That's the stuff I don't even drink until the apple juice is gone. That's gone too. So we're out of apple juice. So you have to hit the thumbs so I can get more apple juice. So keep on hitting those thumbs. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. But no apple juice today. Well, maybe I don't deserve apple juice after yesterday. Yesterday I took a big dip in cash games. One of those, it happens every so often. I think it's happened twice, maybe two times, 2 or 3 times. Let me take a look. No, maybe 1, 2. Yeah, I think 2 times before, like a full losing sweep on all 3 sides. So like this was a dip of like 2,100 or so, right? DraftKings. 43% loss, FanDuel 72% loss, Yahoo almost like laughing in my face, like, oh, $1.20. Oh, thank you. I don't know how I got $1.20 out of that lineup, but whatever. 99% loss. So we went down from 12.5 down to 10.3. Still profitable, obviously, for the year. So it's going to go up and down. It's like the stock market goes up and down. Good thing yesterday, though, which saved me, was I came in second in the little $100 Showtime. That's what saved me. You see right here. No. He came in first, right? He came in first by like 14 points with fairly low scores. If you take a look at these scores, pretty low because a lot of people went with the Pacers Nets game, right? Brogdon, Sabonis, Harden, right? Expecting that game to be nuts. And what happened with the Pacers? I mean, they came back, right? But 30 points at halftime. Right? What's up with that? And then we had the situation with Isaiah Roby. That burned a bunch of lineups. But in single entry, I was trying to play more balanced lineups. I was trying to get away from like the cheap chalk value, like Gallinari. I was trying to get who else was owned. Let's see. We had like Roby and Gallinari, right? So I was trying to build lineups where I didn't have to use Roby, didn't have to use Gallinari, and I faded the Pacers Brooklyn game. Right? So that's why I'm trying to make lineups with like PJ Washington, Kyle Anderson, Chris Middleton. Instead of using Westbrook, going down 1,100 and playing Kyle Lowry. Then Zach LaVine over like Kyrie Irving or Westbrook or Harden or Luka, something like that. Obviously, Marquise Morris was a late addition. This was a late swapped lineup. Because we got the news after lock that AD was not going to play. So that boosted, Marquise Morris. Even if though he didn't start, he was still going to play plenty of minutes for 3,000. So I was able to build a nice lineup. Benefited a bit from the Lakers Thunder overtime. Horford got 56 points. I'm surprised Horford was as low as he was owned. I knew Sabonis was going to be the highest owned center, but he's also power forward eligible, so I thought there'd be more Horford. I knew Zach LaVine was going to be low owned, right? I knew Middleton would be fine. Lowry would get some ownership. Kyle Anderson would get some ownership at a weak small forward position if you're not playing Gallinari. I expected Will Barton to be like 10% owned. I expected Horford to be like 15 to 20% owned, and he wasn't. PJ Washington, I thought maybe been 5 to 10% owned. It's like looking at this lineup, it almost feels like it's too low owned for a 335 person contest. But I mean, my main strategy was, how do I not play Roby? How do I not play Gallo? And how do I not play Brooklyn, Indiana? Like, what's the best lineup I can make that way? And this just so happened to be the best lineup I could make that way. And there you go. $3,000. So that made up for the $2,100 whatever loss in the cash game. So I mean, sometimes it works out. Sometimes it works out. So yeah, so that was my strategy there. And in large field, we could talk about this Isaiah Roby thing from last night. Okay, if you were in our Discord, premium Discord, right, you could get $10 off your first month by signing up with the link in the description. Get all the stuff, all the premium stuff. Andy Means, our lead NBA analyst, right? He's on crunch time. He tweeted out like about 20 minutes before the 10 o'clock lock that, someone reported that there were only 8 guys out for warmups and Roby wasn't out there. Now, does that mean Roby's not playing? Who knows? It could mean Roby's in the bathroom, right? Who knows what that means, right? And it's not like it was from a verified account or anything. It's just like someone that was there, or some beat right, something, right? Someone that has less followers than I do. Like, okay, there's 8 guys on the call. Okay, that's it. That's all we know. That's all we know. So what are you supposed to do from there? He's one of the best values on the slate for 3,700. Because, they only had 8 or 9 guys, even with Muscala back. So do you take him out, or do you leave it, or you keep him in? There's no official word on anything. There's nothing. No official word on nothing. But you could tell by that tweet that if you wanted to play it safe, you'd have gotten him out of your lineup. You'd have played Markieff Morris instead and left 700 on the table. The problem comes in is, what happens if you're playing Markieff Morris and Isaiah Roby? What do you do then? You could have pivoted to like a DJ Augustine or a Forbes or Torrey Craig or something, one of the cheaper Bucks guys, Taylor Horton Tucker. You could have done that. I mean, you could have. Depends on did you want to take a chance or not? Now, since I just automatically play whatever the top projected lineup in cash on DraftKings, I just stayed with Roby. And turns out, like, what did Craig? I think I could have pivoted to Craig had 5 points. It wouldn't have mattered, right? The problem with my lineup is that I had Horford in cash games. GPP is a different story. In cash games, I had Horford in the utility spot and Sabonis in the center spot, so I couldn't move Horford out of the utility, which means I couldn't have played Augustine. How many points did he get? 7. Okay, it's not like it would have mattered, right? Right, I got 0 from Roby, but I would have switched to Augustine, 7 points. Maybe I would have won 1 or 2 more head-to-heads or something. But wouldn't have made a difference in double-ups. I already had Morris in my lineup in cash games. I had Horford, so I mean, Horford overperformed, so I wouldn't have gotten there anyway. So it didn't, to me, it didn't even matter that much. Yes, I had a Roby 0, but so did 60% of 60% of people in cash games on DraftKings had a 0 out of Roby. So, and we could tell from just exposures of top players. I brought up a whole bunch: Brick 75 and Kobe for MVP, Squirrel Patrol, Utica, Hubro, Jedabist, JK 123. I mean, look, tons of Isaiah Roby. Yeah, some people late swapped. Either late swapped or just intended to not have much of them. Royal Payne, Tinky Tyler, ending at 0. Yeah, so some people said, okay, I'm gonna late swap. I'm gonna switch. Still plenty of top players had tons of Isaiah Roby. So if you got burned by that, like obviously 10 minutes after lock, late scratch, he ain't gonna play, right? Is that more tilting to get that news, or he's on the bench and just never comes in, right? You're sitting there, it's like, 2 minutes to go in the first quarter, and he hasn't checked in yet. And then the quarter ends and he still hasn't checked in, and you're like, is this guy going to play or not? Is that worse? Is that a worse tilt? Or would you rather know right up front, just like before the tip-off? Screw it, this guy ain't playing. I don't know which one. I would think the first one is less tilted. Like at least you know. You're not sitting there going, "Oh, where's Isaiah Roby? Where's Isaiah Roby?" If they priced him up, if DraftKings priced him up to like 4,900, we wouldn't have been in this situation. He wouldn't have been this chalky. So obviously, if you faded Roby in lineups, I mean, you got a lot of leverage, right? In a large field finger roll, he was 38% owned. I'm assuming that came down. He probably before that was like 45 to 50% owned. But a lot of people may have late swapped, but not as many as you thought. Still A. Jones at 30%, right? People were still stuck. Forsaken 63%. Either they didn't see that tweet and it just just surprise, or they saw and they just rode with it. Some people may have saw it and switched out. Some people may have just, who knows? Royal Pain 21 could have just always had 9% Roby. You can almost tell by let's take a look at Markieff Morris. Because really, Markieff Morris wasn't in play until AD was ruled out. So you could see who switched. Here, Royal Pain, Tinky Tyler, Ahabro, Ending, JK 123. Right? Very Royal Pain, Tinky Tyler, Ending. Yeah, so most likely these were late swaps. Because, I mean, Markieff Morris you wouldn't have played him with AD in. So I'm assuming a lot of this stuff was late swaps. But we could see the constructions that people tried to make. Like whether or not you went in, over, or under that Brooklyn, Indiana game, right? And what you did with OKC. I mean, those are the keys to the slate. What did you do with the Nets Pacers game, and what did you do with OKC? What did you do with Russell Westbrook? I guess, right? Score patrol at 80% Westbrook, right? Some people went under. I thought he was fine. I played him in cash. Diallo is a bit expensive on DraftKings, but you could still play him. Going for MVP at 4%. And what'd you do with Brogdon and Sabonis? I mean, Sabonis, neither of them really got there. What'd you do with Gallo? We have a Hubro at 0%. Just, I'm not even going to bother. Ending, 1%. And then some people went over. Because you need to fill some type of small forward spot. Where you're going to use, and then also shooting guard. Shooting guard was probably the toughest position to fill yesterday. That's why Diallo was as owned as he was. Because you had Dort also. You had Middleton. I thought Middleton was the best play in the shooting guard spot. It's just, how do you build the rest of your lineup around it? That's why Denzel Valentine, he was owned. Shooting guard. Shooting guard was Bryn Forbes. Then we get down to garbage. That's why with all of that, with shooting guard being the way it is, that's why I thought there was incredible value on for leverage on Zach LaVine. That's why I played Zach LaVine. Especially in lineups that didn't have Pacers in it. If you notice this lineup that I made at 49.9, I could have played Kyrie Irving here. But if I'm not playing Pacers, it makes no sense to play Kyrie over Zach LaVine. I did play another lineup that had like Brogdon, I think Brogdon, Turner, Irving, or something like that. Obviously, it didn't cash. But I saw no sense from a correlation standpoint to play Irving instead of Zach LaVine. Irving, what was he owned? It's not like Kyrie was owned that much. 5%. Right. I could have. He scored 58 points. Right. I could have done that. The difference in, 6.75 points, I would have came in like somewhere around here. I would have came in 11th, 10th or something. $400. What was Irving's ownership in this contest? Still low owned, probably. Yeah, 4%. So, similar amount of leverage, but I just thought it made little sense. Sabonis in this contest, in the Showtime, this is the reason. I always say I tend to be a little bit more contrarian in small field contests because the ownership of these players are going to be higher. So if we want to do side by side, let's go side by side, just to show you the concept. So I'm going to go to ownership. We're going to go to the contest that I played. X out some of these. So we're going to the small Showtime versus just a large field, normal, whatever contest. right? What's the name of it? The finger roll. Okay. So the showtime, the smaller showtime, and the finger roll. So look at the disparity in ownership. I was building a lineup without these top 4 guys. Okay. But in that contest, look how the difference between the ownerships are. Even more condensed. 23% more ownership on Sabonis. 15% more on Roby. Even look at it. 22% more on Brogdon. 10% more on Westbrook. 22% more on Gallinari. Amadou Diallo is about even. Then we start getting into less differences, smaller differences. But look at the predominant type of lineup. I mean, this is a cash lineup. I mean, that's why. So it's like, how do I not build this type of lineup? Turns out by just fading them all. But what type of lineup can I build like that? I mean, there you go. That's the lineup that I built. But in these larger field contests, then maybe you don't get as much leverage doing that. So while you can do it in the larger field contests, sometimes it's more benefit. If these guys bust, like I could play virtually anyone and win with a lower score. So I feel like if you don't play somebody, like either you play one or the other, Brogdon or Sabonis, or you play neither, and the Pacers get killed. Roby was just chalk value at power forward. So I'm like, how do I build a more balanced lineup? Gallinari, he could have easily, his minutes limit was 30. He ended up playing 30. He could have played 25, and who knows how efficient he's going to be. He wasn't that efficient. He got 19.75 for 4,500. Okay. Not really going to win you a GPP or anything. I need to fill a shooting guard spot. So there you go, Middleton. You do Middleton, you do Levine, and you play Lowry over Westbrook, and then just fill out the lineup. And then my leverage off of Roby is playing Horford. Like, I can't believe Horford was as low as he was. 7% in the showtime, 9% in the finger roll. Yeah, it's more advantageous to play him in the smaller field contest. Most people think in the large fields, like, I'm going to fade all the chalk and then play whatever. I mean, you can do that also. But you get way more leverage fading a chalkier player in single entry contests. Doesn't mean you do it across the board. Like I said, my lineup here, I didn't expect the ownership to be this low. I didn't think it would be as condensed as it was up here. I didn't expect that. I expected PJ Washington to be 8 to 10% owned. I thought Al Horford would be 15 to 20% owned, with them only playing with 9 guys and SGA being out. I thought Will Barton at a small forward position to be as owned as Kyle Anderson for virtually the same price. I thought that would be split. So Kyle Anderson would be like 12 and Barton would be 12. Zach LaVine I knew was going to be low. Like that I knew. That's the whole basis of the lineup. Like Lowry was going to be somewhat owned. Okay, 15. But that was the whole basis. I didn't realize that I was even getting less ownership than I thought from these guys. Just looking at this lineup, I'm like, a little too much leverage. Worked out. But I mean, the thesis of the play was to fade the Pacers Nets game. And it worked out. Hey, if that game went off, then I lose. Okay, so be it. But if that game went off, it's my cash lineup, right? I mean, my cash lineup had Brogdon, Sabonis, and Harden in it. So if that gets, great, I win in cash and lose in GPP. Okay, it's like a little hedge. That's what you should be thinking about with the size of the contest that you play. How is the ownership going to be different? How condensed is it going to be? Where's the best place to get leverage, knowing that the ownership is going to be more condensed? Because you could have easily just played the chalk. You could have played the chalky type lineup and found leverage elsewhere. You could have played Harden, Brogdon, Sabonis. You could have done that, but that means you probably have to play Gallinari. You probably have to play very similarly priced players at similar positions as other lineups like that. And you're trying to win in that way. You can. I just thought the easier path to first place was to go lighter on the Pacers Nets game. Yet I had 4 other lineups, and I still had Brogdon. I had Turner. not like I didn't play them at all. This lineup just so happened to be this way. Like I said, there was a late swap involved. I don't know who was originally in this lineup. So obviously Lowry was locked, and Anderson was locked, and Washington was locked. Was Levine? I don't think Levine was locked at the time. Yeah, I probably switched around something. I don't know who I originally had at center. Maybe I had Roby at center. Maybe I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't even remember. But there you go. Let's go in the YouTube chat. Hit the thumbs up button. Remember, we're in crisis mode now. No apple juice. There's no apple juice to keep it cold. I mean, you expect this to be cold, but why am I drinking Mountain Dew at 11 o'clock in the morning? Does it even have caffeine in it? Does this even have caffeine? We're just drinking it for no apparent reason. A citric pectin. Okay, caffeine. It says caffeine. It's okay. There's some caffeine in here. Okay. Let's see. Ronald Coley asked, did I hand build that lineup which got you second place? Yeah. I hand build my single entry 3 max lineups. But I mean, I'm looking and researching using lineup HQ. Semi-kosher production says the OKC beat writer mentioned Roby wasn't warming up, like I said. Do you look at beat writers' tweets before tip-off for any breaking news? Or is this just a fluke? No, this is what you have to do. Welcome to NBA DFS, folks. But there's nothing official. Like that. That's what I mean by when you saw that tweet. We've seen plenty of times Embiid. We've seen it literally with Joel Embiid all the time. Joel Embiid's not out warming up. AD is not out warming up. And someone tweets that, and 10 minutes later, he's out warming up. Overreaction. Oh, does that mean he's not playing today? Who knows? There's nothing official. Not even sourced or anything, just a photo. So are you supposed to know? Who knows? You have to decide for yourself. But this is what NBA DFS is. It's not like 7 o'clock. You're done for the night. Stuff like this happens all the time. You have to be available. It is what it is. If you're not willing to be available throughout the whole course of the night to make late swaps and follow the news, you probably shouldn't be playing. I'm sorry. You're giving up a lot of edge by not doing so. I mean, even that I tell my wife, like, just because it's locked doesn't mean, well, I got 8 o'clock lock and 8:30 lock and 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Who knows? We're waiting on news in the late game. I got to be here. I got to look, right? Because then it depends on what you're doing. Because it's not just like, oh, I'll check 5 minutes before the game locks if anything has changed. It's like, well, you have swapping opportunities like all throughout the night. So like the AD news like comes in before like the Dallas game last night. And it's like, oh, now I can play Markieff Morris. Like, well, do you want Luka in your lineup? Because once 7:30 hits, any lineup with Luka in it locks. So if you want to switch out at that point, you need to do it then. If you just 9:57 before the Lakers game, oh, I guess I can play Markieff Morris now. Well, all these other games have locked along the way, and now you don't have any optionality left of who to switch in your lineups. 2v2s, 3v3s. So paying attention to news throughout the night affects what you're going to do. I had Luka in one lineup, and he was gone. I took him out. I may have been that exact lineup. I may have had Luka in this lineup. Who knows? In the Zach LaVine spot or something. I don't know. Who knows? I know I had him in one lineup. And I didn't eventually not have him. Jesse Atfield says, Blender, the FanDuel train was about 40 players deep in most double-ups last night. Is it plus EV to pivot off the train with a lower projected player instead of chopping 40 different ways? No, it's negative. It's even more negative EV, right? If the model is accurate, why would you want to play a lower lineup than if 40 other people are playing it? The only time that playing that lineup becomes negative EV is if the number of people that are playing it is more than the spots that it pays out. Then it starts getting negative EV. But if the model's accurate, that's the best lineup. That shows the most amount of profit. But it does. the differences between most of the top lineups is so marginal, right? So if you're off by 1 minute, it changes everything. So like, feel free to play whatever lineup towards the top that you want. You don't have to. A lot of times on FanDuel, the pricing is just so soft that the similar lineups are created. I mean, I saw that yesterday, and I saw there are plenty of non-RotoGrinders members that are same cash lineup. It builds itself. As long as you have a reasonably good projections, it's going to come out the same, especially on FanDuel, where the pricing is soft. Let's see. Go through the YouTube chat. Blender and lineup HQ, is there a general slate size that the ownership projection is based on? I've been seeing pretty large swings in actual versus projected. The ownership in lineup HQ is geared primarily to large field contests, right? I don't think we have ownership this early. I know Jamino's working on getting ownership earlier throughout the day. Oh, you see, we have it now. Okay, but this is going to change. The projections and everything is going to change. It's 11:30 in the morning. Well, at least Jamino has something early up, right? So we're seeing 35% for Jaylen Brown, Korkmaz. Value's so weak that we get Korkmaz. I mean, I think that's primarily because we have Anthony and Fournier are questionable. So this may turn out to be Frank Mason chalk night. Right? So here's the owners. But this is geared primarily, right? It says right here in the tooltip. This projection is centered around large field GPP tournaments and may vary based on contest size and entry fee. These projections are added daily by 4 p.m. Eastern time and may be updated throughout the day. So yeah, this is geared more towards the finger roll, like these types of contests. 150 max for 40,000 entry type of contests. So the stakes level will affect it. The contest size will affect it. The smaller field contests, the chalk is going to be chalkier. And the low owned plays will be even lower owned. So the disparity of ownership starts getting more barbelled. Then the lower stakes, it tends to be flatter. Right, so if you're playing like the main large field GPP versus like the $4.20 max or something, a lot of times, like the ownership creeps like more towards the middle. So while in the bigger large field GPP, Jaylen Brown will be 35%, but in the cheaper one, in the $4.20 max or something, he'll be 32%. And Korkmaz will, like all of these guys will trim a couple of points in ownership, and then guys in the single digit around the the 9% will be a little bit higher, like more towards 11 or 12. So it gets a little bit more bunched up in the middle. That's the tendency. That's not every slate. So just view it that way. When you're looking at this projected ownership is primarily for the large field GPP. Okay. I'm going to repeat that because I think it's important as far as like the distribution of ownership. So normally distribution of ownership is the chalk. You got chalky guys on one side. You got really low on guys on the other side. So you got these 2 points. And you got everything in between. So in large field contests, you have this. In smaller field contests, right, the higher owned, I don't know which side is that. The chalk gets chalkier, and the low owned plays get even lower, right? It goes something like this. Bigger disparity. Large field contest with the lower stakes, it tends to just go down evenly. So you get more ownership ends up in this middle range. So you have to take that into account depending on what contest are you playing. So you have to look at this. It should all be relative to what you're playing. So this gives you a sense, but not the exacts. Obviously not the exacts, is projected ownership. And this will change throughout the day, right? Cole Anthony or Fournier get ruled out. Well, that means you could play a cheap point guard, right? And that changes the entire construction. Well, now you can pay up at center. Oh, now Vucevic goes from the 26% owned to 46% owned. I mean, it could happen like that. This is why I don't build lineups until an hour before lock, because really the key injury report is the 5:30 Eastern injury report. So until that injury report drops, all I could do is just experiment and go, okay, this is a possibility. Maybe this happens. Maybe I play this. Listen to some stuff. You read some content. Get a sense of the slate. But you're really not making any decisions until stuff is much more finalized. And these things will change throughout the day. That's why you need RotoGrinders Premium. $10 off your first month. You could get just NBA. Or you could get the combo package, which includes everything except for NASCAR. I know NASCAR is coming up, but the Daytona, that's coming up this weekend. Stevie has a package for that if you play NASCAR. I heard it's great. I don't play NASCAR, but I've heard it's great. But these are the resources that you need. I mean, I couldn't possibly see it not being worth it. I mean, like we're talking about $40 a month, right? Isn't that what premium is? You know how hard it is to do this for yourself? It's immensely hard to build your own model like this, to project ownership, to run simulations. It's why I paid. What Jamino does here in lineup HQ and the projections team, we see right here all these. I'm going to say beautiful faces, but maybe not. Like they do better than I'll outsource that. Here we go. All I need are the numbers. Now I can make plus EV lineups. So to me, it's immensely worth it. It should be 10 times as much. So if you're not going to utilize some type of model, some type of projections, some type of tool, you're way behind the 8 ball against a lot of opponents. But this is just the starting point. It's not just okay, 10, 11, 01 projections. Let me build 20 lineups, and there you go. Right? Right. Oh, here we go. These are the 20 lineups, right? With Matisse Thybulle in it. That doesn't sound fun. Oh, if I play these 20 lineups, I win all the money. No, these are all median lineups. These don't take into account any ownership or any no correlation, no nothing. Right? Do you want to play Seth Curry, Matisse Thybulle, and Korkmaz together in the same lineup? Probably not. I don't see them all getting there, right? Subsidiary players on the 76ers all getting there at the same time. Probably not. The projections are just the starting point. The tool helps you get there. What lineups do you want to make? Let's go through the YouTube chat. Feel free to type in your questions. That's what I'm here for. That is what I'm here for. I mean, you see that I ran 20 lineups just to get a sense. What does this slate look like? Vucevic, Wall, okay. Jaylen Brown. Right, I get it. So where are we weak? We're weak at shooting guard, I guess? We're getting Duncan Robinson and frickin' Korkmaz. So I guess we're weak at shooting guard. I mean, he gets some Fournier, but who knows if he plays. It looks weak at shooting. If we're playing Korkmaz or Curry, Danny Green, we must be weak. Some Wiggins, and that's never pleasant. I guess shooting guard is the weak position today. Let's take a look at point guard. Yeah, we get some Wall and Brogdon. Okay, you pay up there. Small forward, Jaylen Brown, Jeremy Grant. Get some Jimmy Butler. Okay, that's a bit strong. Normally, small forward tends to be weak. Power forward, it's kind of garbage. Sabonis, Grant. I mean, you could play them. Center, Vooch is going to be massive chalk. So you get a sense of what the construction could be. If nothing changed, if all the magic are in and everything, but when does that happen? Really? Have we ever gotten a slate where everything that we looked at 11:30 in the morning is exactly the way it is at 7:30 at night? Has it ever happened? Just like with the apple juice. Maybe today will be the day that it happens. You've been watching this show for a month or two, right? I've always had apple juice. Today I have no apple juice. So maybe today that nothing, maybe nothing happens. Maybe that's the sign. Maybe I never drink apple juice again. Maybe if I drink apple juice, that means there'll be tons of late news. Everything's going to change. But if I don't have apple juice, everything stays the same. It could happen. Maybe it's correlated. We'll see. If everything stays the same, I'm not drinking apple juice tomorrow. Okay? I think I may not have any choice because I don't no apple juice left. I have to go out. It snowed a bunch here. So do I want to leave my house? No. So maybe there isn't any apple juice tomorrow. No apple juice. Unless I get enough likes. There's enough thumbs up. Maybe I go out and get some apple juice. Unless you don't care. Let's see. DJ A Dog 3K. Do you feel like the high stakes players play more chalk because they don't account for variance? I don't know necessarily what you mean by they don't account for variance. They do account for variance. In the smaller field contests, for the higher stakes contests are typically smaller field. You don't need to sacrifice as much median to get leverage. So why not play the higher projected players who also tend to be higher owned, as long as you find enough leverage elsewhere? So it's not like they're not taking into account variance. They are. But how much variance do you have to add to your lineups? So that's really what we're doing with leverage. Is making our lineups more variant, increasing the range of outcomes on the lineup. But for a 300-person contest, how variant do you have to be? Variant enough, but not like large field variant. And typically high stakes contests tend to be smaller field. We don't have 10,000 entry $400 contests. Right? Once you get in the triple digits, we're talking about 1,000 at most. So you don't have to sacrifice that much projection over the long run. Yeah, sometimes you can get a little bit more contrarian. I get it. But it's not a matter of like, oh, no, they're just playing chalk because they're not accounting for something. No, because that would be optimal to do. Well, but you still have to find a way to get different. So you're probably playing some of the chalk and some leverage plays off of the chalk. Some combination of both. You're likely not just throwing out the top 8 guys and then building a lineup, because the projection is going to be way low on many slates. Yesterday's slate, there wasn't really screaming value. There wasn't a guy where he's 2,000 underpriced and his smash percentage is 56%, where, why don't you play that guy? You're going to be giving up so much projection by doing so if you fade him. There wasn't anyone like that. The value was quite thin. So those are the slates where you should probably get off the beaten path. Right? I saw Forsaken playing a bunch of DeAndre Bembry at small forward instead of Danilo Gallinari. Why not? For 1,100 less. Gallo's going to be 20+% owned and Bembry's going to be nothing owned, 1%. What's the difference? They're both small forward eligible coming off the bench. Bembry puts up 28 and Gallo puts up 18 and you're gold. There's so many players like that on a slate where most of the lineups are going to be quite equal to one another. Oh, you give up 1 point a median for doing that. Okay, no big deal. There were not many players yesterday where look, I faded like 4 guys and it's like the projection was still fine for a 335 entry contest. Because there wasn't really screaming value. There wasn't. Markieff Morris is not screaming value. Danilo Gallinari, you don't want to play that guy. Denzel Valentine, if anything, they were 5 to 10% underpriced at most. You don't go to those situations where, DeMar Cousins is 4,000 playing 28 to 30 minutes. We didn't have that. Oh, let's see. Free copyright music. Oh, it's the guy from yesterday. Mr. Music. Do I call you Mr. Music? Do I call you free? Free copyright music? That's not your real name. 4 days new to DFS. Oh, welcome. 4 days. Hopefully you have your long-term thinking. Oh, I've been playing for 4 days and I've lost all 4 days. Well, welcome to DFS. For small cash double-ups, do we approach it with the obvious players not worrying about ownership? Pretty much. Build the best median lineup you can. And you're playing for the long run. The best projected lineup, if your model is accurate, is going to be the best lineup for double ups. Best median lineup, median. Because you're aiming for median and double ups. You don't get any, there's no advantage of coming in first in a double up. It's wasted points. Oh, I scored 290 and the cash line was 245. Well, those 45 points didn't do me any good. If you scored 246, you won the same amount of money. So you're trying to maximize your probability of just cash. GPPs, you're not doing that because the payouts go up progressively. Every spot you go up, every zone you go up, you get paid more. So there's a benefit to scoring more. Double ups, no. You just beat 45, you beat 55% of the people in a double up. You're good. That's it. That's all you need. Don't worry about anything else. That's all you need. So you're aiming for medians. Narrow range of outcome, high median players. GPP, you're doing the opposite. Focusing more on more variant players, wider range of outcomes that have higher ceilings. Maybe lower medians, especially if they'll be lower owned. That's the difference. Chris Galligan asks, Jordan, why did FanDuel drop the 150 max quarter contest today? Who makes the decisions over there? Well, not me. Don't ask me. I don't know. I don't know anyone there. People ask me that all the time. Why did DraftKings do this? I don't know, because they're stupid. A lot of times that is the answer. A lot of times I'm like, I agree with you. I think that's stupid. I'm not in control. I have no idea. Well, how come yesterday it filled and then this time, who knows? Someone woke up on the wrong side of the bed and decided to, or sometimes they just screwed up. They forgot. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know why FanDuel does some of the stuff the way they do. I don't know why DraftKings does some of the stuff the way they do. So I have no idea. Free copyright music. Is there a certain approach you have if you're not worrying about ownership and selecting the power players? Is there anything else you add to determine your lineup besides RGB and Smash? Dude, I'm building my cash lineup. It's just the top projected lineup. That's all I'm doing personally. You know how much time I spend on my cash lineup? 3 seconds. That's it. It actually takes me longer to enter my cash lineup across all 3 sites than it does to make it. So I'm just playing the projected top optimal. That's all I'm doing. Is it the best cash lineup? Most nights it's not. Because the medians don't take into account the standard deviations of the players. So like right now, our top projected lineup is 266.18, low scoring, but no value. Look at this. It has Walt Robinson, Butler, Grant, Vooch, Korkmaz, Oubre, Tybal. Right? The next lineup is only 0.04 underneath it. I mean, look at the difference. 0.04. Here's another one, 266.14, 266.18, 266.11, 265.90. The differences between these lineups are virtually nothing. Right? This one has Brogdon in it, then Green. This one in Brown. This one has Butler and Oubre. This one doesn't. I mean, but the differences within the lineup. 0.04. The only way to realize this, if the model is accurate, is over the course of God knows how many slates. But technically, this would be, this is the top median lineup based on our projections as of now, as of 11:01 a.m. So if this was at lock, this is the lineup that I play. That's it. That's the whole point. That's why I'm tracking. Go to theory. You go to tracker.theoryofdfs.com. I'm trying to set what if the benchmark is profitable. That's my goal. That's my hypothesis. In the past, I would make my own. I would look at this. This is what I would do. I would look and go, look, do I have to play Tybal in this lineup? I would look through. I would look, is there any lineup without Tybal in it? Is one of them? Is Tybal going to... I'd go through and I'd look. Okay, here's one without Tybal, but I got Danny Green in there. I got Fournier. I would look and I would play one of these lineups. I wouldn't just, oh, this one and that's it. I would see. Maybe I sacrifice a point of median to get a narrower range, a less variant lineup, a narrower range of lineup. And you make those choices. That's what I would choose. But sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you make the decision, and this lineup up here, the first one, is the one that does better than it. Sometimes the one that you choose does better than this lineup. There needs to be a benchmark somewhere. So last year, my decisions were actually less successful than the benchmark. I would have made more money by just playing the top projected lineup, median projected lineup. So based on that information, yes, maybe it was unsustainable. I don't know. So I'm just gonna, regardless of variance, regardless of the standard deviation of the players, I'm just gonna play whatever the projections say, just whatever it is, and then make sure to get diversification in my cash games to reduce the variance from there. So I may be playing lineups that are higher variance in cash, because the medians just happen to be a point or two higher. So how do I mitigate that? Well, by just playing a lot of contests, by just playing a ton of head-to-heads and triple ups and everything I can on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, to reduce that variance and seeing if that is profitable. By the end of the season, maybe it's not. I started with a $20,000 bankroll for this. Maybe it ends up being less than that. Right now, it's above it. Right now, it's 10,365. Right? You see the chart here. But in theory, as long as that lineup is better than what lineups people are making, then I should see a profit, if that's the benchmark. And then you have to weigh your results against the benchmark. Very similar to the stock market. Stock market, a lot of people, they pick stocks. And at the end of the year, their portfolio didn't beat the S&P 500 or a similar index fund. It's like, oh, by picking my own stocks, I showed a 5% return over the year. It's like, well, you could have gotten a low-cost index fund and showed a 7% return and did nothing, and just like literally didn't have to trade, didn't do nothing. So that's what I'm testing with this. So you could do that too if you want. You trust the projection model, why not? Let's get some questions before we get out of here. Rob W., do you find any edge in contests such as tiers? Wondering if that's something more pros are involved in or something that's more overlooked. Is tiers as basic as picking the highest projected player? Pretty much. Why wouldn't it be? If you're playing cash games. A lot of top players play everything. But still, if you're a lower stakes player, this is what's more important. If you're lower stakes, if you have a smaller bankroll, if you're playing $100 a night, you can be picky. You could find the spots. Right. Maybe you go into the tiers lot. Maybe you weren't even playing. Go into the tiers and see if there's any, no badge players in the head-to-heads. Right. Start looking at the double ups. Look at the entrance. Oh, it's a 23-man double up. And there's 4 guys in there without a badge or something, something like that. Then play tiers for that contest and that contest only. Maybe you're only playing $10 in tiers. Maybe you're playing $15 in the late slate. Maybe you're playing $50 in the main slate. But you could be much more picky with your contest selection. Here and there, picking off $1 head-to-head there versus this site's $1 head-to-head and finding the weakest opponent you can, regardless of the slate and regardless of the contest. When you're playing $100 a night, $200 a night, you can do that. That's going to be a big difference in your ROI. Trust me. I mean, that's what I did when I had a small bankroll. To make a big difference over the course of one slate, it's not going to feel like much. Over the course of the year, it will. Now, if you're playing thousands of dollars of volume, finding the $1, $2, the number one, I can't even play those contests, at least not on DraftKings. Finding even the $5 here, you're not going to find as many. And how much in comparison to your volume Is it worth your time? Because there's a time cost involved. So yeah, I could cherry pick and some $5 stuff. But if I'm playing $3,000 to $4,000 worth of volume, maybe I'm only able to find $100 worth of that. $100 versus, in comparison to $4,000 worth of volume, is smaller. Should I be doing that? Yes, sure. But where's my time better spent? Doing that for a little, or looking at the 215s, looking at the 109s, getting diversification across the board, figuring out my GPP lineups? That may be more beneficial. But on a smaller bankroll, you should be as picky as possible. You have the ability to be that picky when you play small, low stakes every night. You should be playing the multi-entry double ups, right? Don't play the $5 multi-entry double up in DraftKings. Go down to the 3-man lobby. See if you can find some weak players. Go into tiers. Go into whatever you need to do to find the weakest opponents possible compared to you. So you may think to yourself, well, I'm not that strong of a player. Well, you could probably find weaker players that are worse than you. Compared to me, maybe you're the worst player. Maybe I see you in the lobby. I'm taking your games. But you could find someone possibly worse than you. So go find those games. Don't play against me. That's what you should be doing, especially on a small bankroll. I'm telling you. May seem like a little, okay, I'm playing $100 a night. That may increase my edge by $2 or $3, right? 2 or 3%, maybe 5% even, right? Oh, it's just $3, just $5. You're playing every day. You're playing every day, playing 300 days a year. It increases your edge just by contest selection by $5 a day. That's $1,500 by the end of the year. $1,500, and especially if you have a bankroll you have a $2,000 bankroll, $1,500 is a lot in comparison. If you have a $200,000 bankroll, $1,500 doesn't represent as much. Still do proper contest selection, yeah, but maybe you don't go to the nth degree of making sure. Oh well, I can't play this. Maybe I'll look into tiers for one thing here. Like maybe the time isn't right. Let's see. Chris Gallagher asks, do you think it would be smart to play every slate to spread out your variance? Yeah, you should play. If you're using the same projections, you play as much as you. That's why the top players do. Smart to play every slate, all within the realm of your bankroll, sure. Obviously, the smaller slates have higher variance, right? In and of themselves, a 2-game slate. It's a lot of overlap. But if you wanted to, yeah, the more sample size you have, the more exponentially it will increase your edge. It'll compound. So if you're a bad player, like you're just going to go broke quicker doing that. If you're a good player, you'll make more profit with less risk because you're spreading out your risk as much as possible. Kai Roach, am I stupid for playing stuff like PGA and NASCAR that I don't care about? It's still as simple as smash percentage and ownership. Nope, it's that simple. Do you think I care about basketball? I never cared about basketball until DFS. I mean, a long time ago. I used to follow, in the mid-90s. And Patrick Ewing was on the Knicks, like when I was a kid, when I was younger, teenager. I didn't care about basketball until I started playing NBA DFS. I don't care about basketball. People ask, "What do you think is going to be the MVP?" I don't know. I don't even know the records of the teams. I don't know. I don't care who wins the finals. I don't care. They're just pieces of a board on the board for me. They're names on a spreadsheet. I really don't care about basketball. Football, I care about even less. Right? If it wasn't for Showdown, I wouldn't have even watched the Super Bowl. I don't even care. Who cares who wins? How does that affect me? Not at all. So yeah, like sports are just the basis of the game that we're playing. To me. So no, you don't need to care. You don't. Sam Deal says apple juice is the key to DFS success. Yes, that's what it should be. Apple juice. I'm out of apple juice. I'm not going to do well tonight then. All right. But I had apple juice. I had the mango juice yesterday and bombed in cash, but won in GPP. So does that count? I have no idea. I need to get more apple juice. The only way to convince my wife to go out and get me more apple juice is by hitting that thumbs up button. So you hit the thummy thumbs. We get to 150 thummy thumbs. That's what she told me. She said, I ain't going out to get you more apple juice unless we get 150 likes on this show. So hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to know when we go live. I go live 11 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time, weekdays, right? We get Grinders live tonight at 6 o'clock. It's a 7:30 slate, so 6 o'clock for Grinders live. It'll be Dean and someone else. I don't know. I'd look at the schedule. Then we got crunch time for premium members at 7. And then we got tomorrow. It'll be Casual Friday tomorrow. Casual Friday, hopefully with apple juice. For another edition of the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders.com.